I can't hear you, mate. On mute.
Cheers. It's one of those days, man. I've been on mute during our pre-call. So, anyways, but yes, I agree. It is all about audio. I'm gonna hope to have. I like to do long form discussions specifically about Leeds, obviously, and I'm gonna be eventually uploading the audio of our conversations as well as my conversations with Michael, aka Leeds Faithful on Twitter. And so it's a little bit long form because I pay for YouTube Premium.
Yeah.
I like to throw the earbuds in or wireless headset, do the dishes, do some chores, go on a long drive. And that's how I consume a lot of YouTube. I don't consume it by watching it. And obviously I get no commercials, etc. So it's worth the $17 a month for me.
Yeah.
But I know that's not the case for everyone. So anyways, punchline is this will all be up on Spotify as well. So, Cheer, thanks so much for joining me again. Your clip, I did a clip of you as well as the long form discussion, and both of them were, I was like hoping for 100 views.
Yeah.
We're up at 500. We're approaching 600. So
really,
yeah. I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. So. So it seems to be well received, this content. We'll just see where it goes. Obviously, we both love Leeds.
Yeah.
With that, let's jump right in. What did you think of Jesse Marsch's presser today? I'm optimistic about some stuff, but there was some probably negative stuff in there too. Go ahead.
I don't think it's negative. I think it's where your expectation level is at and what you're expecting. I think the biggest problem right now is there's a certain portion of our fan base who just want more signings. And I always see it every year when we get to deadline day. If we don't do anything on deadline day, then we haven't been active in the window. It's just Sky have managed to create this one day where everything has to happen or else you've not done well. And I think Jesse made a really good point about the one issue that keeps coming up, and that's, do we need a striker? We definitely need a left back, and they're ignoring it, and it looks like they're ignoring it. But do we need a striker? And he made a good point. And to be honest with you, it depends on what way you look at it, because I don't know if we do, being really honest. I know there's the issues where, well, what if Bamford gets injured? We're a bit thin. But if we want Joffy to play and play regularly, and everyone wants Joffy to start, then bringing in another striker is not a good idea, because they're going to just be ahead of him. That means he's going to play less. So I think it depends. If that's the bad news in the press conference, I think it depends. There was a lot of good news in the press conference as well, which I think we'll have a chat about. But yeah, what did you think?
Well, I agree. Your read on the situation. My only worry is that there is nobody that does what Patrick Bamford does. And I love Joffy. I think he's got a great bit of skill. But through the course of a game or the course of a season, I think you fall back into what you maybe normally did as a kid, or he was heavily influenced by Messi, as millions of soccer football players are, and he likes to drop deep. He likes to wants to kind of do what Harry Kane does.
Yeah.
The issue is I don't think we have Son on the other side that can play in. So that off the shoulder pressure that Patrick Bamford provides, you see, opens up space. And I don't know if Joffy, I don't know. I think he wants to do that. I think he knows that that's what Patrick does. But the little things that Patrick Bamford does when he's not amongst the goals is important. So you feel like it's a little bit thin there, but you also understand you don't want to block. He's ready. He's ready to be given a full stint of games.
Yeah, and the key thing that he said was, and this is where I'm okay being a bit more patient with this, is it has to be the right person, and I think what they're talking about here is bringing in an older striker who can maybe complement them a little bit, or come off the bench and play a certain role that Bamford plays, or bringing in someone who's younger again that you can kind of go for the next 5-10 years. It's going to be Joffy and this person together, eventually phasing out Bamford. But to your point, and it's a really good point, the unselfish work that Bamford does in pressing the ball, because he just does an awful lot of what appears to be pointless running, but really is pressure from the front, to those off the shoulder, splitting the fullback in the centre half and getting in around the corner and, you know, making gaps for the people to run into, is really clever. And that's a learned skill that takes time, and, you know, it's experience. He's got about 6-8 years experience on Joffy already. So it's a tricky one and it's an interesting one, but what Mar said, I think, is bang on the money.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, it looks like he's just starting and stopping. Then goes, he's offsides, he's back on sides. He's offsides, he's back on sides. But as for a center back, they're going
constantly looking,
not paying attention to him. Where when Joffy drops deep, they know that it's the players in front of them. So
I did this with the strikers that I coach in my team. I say this to them all the time, because I played as a striker when I played. Two centre backs are here. You're here. You're in the middle, because both of them have to think about you. And at some point during the game, this guy will assume that this guy's marking you, and this guy will assume that this guy's marking you, and they both switch off, and you're in. And that's what tends to happen. It's just waiting for that one mistake. And Bamford does that, playing on the blind side and getting in around the back of people. And as you said, being constantly inside and offside, you're like, where is he? Like, I have to keep looking. I can't concentrate on the game in front of me because I'm trying to figure out where the guy I'm supposed to be marking is. And it's an intelligent footballer, and it shows with him. There's not many out there that are like that are gonna not cost you less than 40 million, which is the problem.
Agree. So I'm happy with it now, and I agree that it has to be the right player. I think, and there's money there. I think they legitimately. I mean, Rad Razani in the Athletic interview he said we put in, I think, 35 or 40 million for CDK, so that there's money there, but they're not going to just bring in a striker, a Paddy, a forward. They're going to bring in the right person, and I think that's important to do. I'm also excited about the health of the squad. I mean, the health of the squad, obviously outside of Firpo, it's just the amount of options. Like, it's just been, last season was so hard to watch, but yeah, I'm just excited about the options moving forward. I don't think he'll make any changes coming off of a win, but what are your thoughts on the team news today?
Yeah, well, I like to look at the bench at the weekend. I know it's a young bench, but I think it's a young bench that now has experience with a season behind them. So you're now looking at them as being part of the first group. So I was happy enough with the bench at the weekend, knowing there was more to come back into that and get stronger again. But you're looking at the weekend, you've got Dan James is back, and from what Marsh has said, we'll start from the bench probably, more than likely is what he said, make an impact off the bench. You've got Cooper is now available. How fit Cooper is, I don't know, because he's had no preseason still. He's only got a week or two training behind him. You would assume he was doing stuff on a bike and other kind of stuff to keep himself ticking over. Having Forshaw back in the middle, I think, is a big boost as well. For that, Forshaw does a lot of unrecognized hard work and pressing people down and pushing people back. And I thought the spell that he came in last season, when he came back from his injury, I thought he was terrific. And I thought if he could have gone from that spell to the end of the season, I thought you were probably looking at a surprise player of the year. I thought he was that good at that time. Obviously, he got injured again, which scuppered that. But that's a huge boost, again, for experience in there as well, with the likes of Adams and Aronson. They're still young players. They've got experience, but they're young. And then from what he said about Sinistera coming back in as well, and I think his exact words were, he looked fantastic and is exciting. That's a really, really positive spot to be in as well. You've got another player. So you've got like two wingers or attackers that could come off the bench and influence the game. You've got a holding midfielder that can come on and shore it up and, manage the game out. And you've got Cooper to come in there if you need a bit more experience at the back to calm everybody down if we need to hold on for a win. So I think it's really, really positive. I don't want to lose the run of myself a little bit here, but we've started well. We've looked good. And I think these guys coming in strengthens it even more and puts us in a strong position with options. I thought how he used the bench last weekend was very clever. And I thought he used it well. And he alluded to in the press conference again where he said, we want to have energy off the bench. We want to be able to maintain that energy and that aggression that he talks about up front. And I think you can see how he uses that. The changes the weekend were well timed and well thought out and made an impact. And that's a measure of a coach, if your changes make an impact. And I think now he's got even more options on the bench the weekend. The big question is who comes off the bench for these guys to replace now. It's a great complaint to have that someone's going to lose out this weekend for someone else to come back in.
I'm going to do my obligatory YouTube sales job, which is please please subscribe to the channel. It's how the algorithm will find you again. There's channels that I subscribe to and I don't get their content just from the algorithm. So liking and subscribing, commenting will help you find us again. I also want to say you're listening to the American and Leeds podcast, and my guest is Jir from Leeds United the View. If you know Leeds United the View, he gives you he's doing more long form content, but he gives you a concise. So all the clickbait, all the rumor mill, you go in Twitter and some bot tweeted some BS about Leeds. He flushes all that out, gives you the meat and the potatoes every morning. I listen to it when I brush my teeth, and get my LUFC news, what's out there, what rumors are out there. So subscribe, and I'll get a link to his channel as well to Jir. When I talked to Michael last night, who's the Canadian that I speak to on this channel, I talked about the substitutes. You mentioned a little bit about that. I want to go to Klich, first of all, his performance, and then I'm going to go into the substitutions over at Wolves, and hopefully we see that kind of pattern every week. But what did you think of Klich? He was the first sub to come on, and obviously played in Bamford to get the square ball to Aaronson's goal.
Yeah, immediate impact, and all the conversations around is Klich leaving, is Klich going. I think instantly every fan went, you can't let him go. Not now, not right now. You can't. And he's definitely given Marsh something to think about. There was conversations around what their relationship was like, because I think Jesse Marsh is honest and open, and sometimes maybe a little bit too open to give too much of an insight into what goes on. But I think, as he said, they have a great relationship and he's a great guy, but it's been difficult at times. But it should be, because players should challenge coaches and coaches should challenge players. It's a natural thing. So I don't necessarily see it as a negative. But what you wanted to see from him was when he did play, did he prove a point? Did he make a statement? And I think he's done a great job there. And it's great to see him playing in a role where he was at his best for Leeds when he played in that advanced 10 role, rather than playing in that withdrawn kind of extra midfielder role, which I just don't think he's effective defensively. But I think he's very effective going forward. He has this, how would you describe it without being sounding not negative, but derogatory, but he has this kind of swagger about him that he doesn't really care who he's playing.
Laissez-faire kind of.
Yes, exactly.
In a sense, but it's not that he doesn't care. It
doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're.
He's no F word given kind of vibes.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge asset, because he comes into a game where it's getting a bit, we had that 20-minute spell where 20-minute spell where we're like, any chance we can have the ball for a little bit and stop giving it away. And you start to have those little, niggles back to last year of going, it's going to happen, isn't it? They're going to score. They're going to score any minute now. Now, they had a lot of ball without ever looking like they were going to score. But when he just came on, it just offered something different. I thought Rodrigo was excellent in the first 45 minutes. But as Rodrigo tends to do, he runs around an awful lot and burns himself out pretty quickly. But then now you've got that impact player that can come in and replace him and do the same job. And I thought he was outstanding. The ball for Bamford was just perfect. And there's a connection there between two players who know each other well. And he knows where Bamford's going to run off the shoulder of the defender, and he knows where to put the ball. So the ball goes that way and Bamford comes around, it's into his path to square it easily. It's clever. It's really, really clever. I thought he did exactly what he was supposed to do, and that was come on and make an impact. And I was delighted to see it, and fingers crossed he can do it again.
Well, not only on the ball, and it just was like, whoa, he's pressing hard. He's up, and he was the most forward player on some of the pressing. So I was just impressed by that. It was just good to see.
When was the last time you saw him do that?
I mean, honestly, maybe the first week of the Premier at Liverpool. I mean, he fell off. I mean, the joke was on on one of the podcasts was ever since Bielsa gave him that praise of like, thank God we've got him. He would be a star. He would start on our new team something like that. It's got to his head or something. He came down. And so it's been a while. I mean, I'd probably say consistently the championship. Yeah. But what a player. You mentioned that, I think, in the first talk we did. We didn't get something on a Klich. No, it was on one of your morning updates. Because if they can get a tune on a Klich, what a player. Yeah, he can pick a pass, and I think he's good. He was close to a couple of goals last season too. But yeah,
and in his first season in the Premier League, so it's in him. It's there. He knows what a goal is, and he can those lovely bending shots that he puts into the far corner with the precision he puts on them. It's there. It's just, can we get it out of him week to week? We did in the Championship. We first season in the Premier League we did last year, and I agree with you. I think probably a bit of praise went to his head a little bit, and didn't think he had to do his work as hard. But maybe a kick with the backside is what he needed. Maybe that's what he's got this time, and now it's coming out of him again.
And he wants to play for his national team for the World Cup. I thought his best football was with Pablo in that pairing in the middle in the 4-1-4-1. So I'm looking forward to continuing to hopefully see him play in that front four. Substitution wise, so Klich comes on first. He plays up front. Then Greenwood comes on, plays as the holding. That's flexibility is great. And then at the 87th minute, we've got two of the younger players, Joffy and Crescencio coming on. What did you think of Crescencio's? It was like 8 minutes or whatever. But what did you think of him? What's your thoughts on him? And the substitutions in general.
The same thought on Somerville as I had with Greenwood last year when we first saw Greenwood. Kind of played on the periphery of the game, didn't kind of wanted to stay safe and not get in trouble and not do anything too fancy in case it didn't work. I thought Somerville, I've seen him playing for under 23s last season, well, under 21s this year, but 23s last year. And I really thought there's a big player coming through here. This guy's going to be talented. We know he has a history in Holland as well before he came to us, but I thought he got pushed around a bit. I thought he got bullied, if I'm being honest. I didn't think he was the weaker of the guys that came off the bench. I still think there's a big player in him there. 8 minutes is not an awful lot to judge a guy. You're only kind of getting your stride in the game when the match is over. So I think he needs more time than that and a bit more patience with him. But if you're going to take that number 10 shirt, you've got to be a big boy to hold on to wear that. Any first team number, you've got to be a big man to carry that weight. And I thought he wasn't as effective as he could have been. I thought he lost the ball at times pretty sloppily. I thought he got pushed around easier than he should have been. They spent their day on the ground, rolling around and looking for free kicks and everything. And I just thought when he came on, he did the same. And I didn't think it was needed. But we'll wait and see. But he needs to do more for me if he wants to. He needs to be more aggressive. Greenwood, I thought, was excellent. Again in the middle of the park, fast becoming a very, very good central midfielder. How about you? What do you think?
He's a good passer. I thought it was good. I thought, I think we're both excited to see Klich play up front. And I was hoping Joffy could poach that last goal. Klich would play him in. I like that that makes me excited because those are two players that have great, I think, passing ability and could play off of each other up front and backwards, like between the center backs and stuff like that. So that's interesting. What do you think of? So we'll start to transition to Southampton. Obviously, Sinisterra and Dan James are available. What do you think the role they might play? Obviously, they'll probably come off the bench. And what do you think of them? What do you think of the front four kind of long term? Do you see Rodrigo losing his place? Patrick Bamford losing his place? Would you see somebody, if everybody's fit and firing, who do you like in your front four?
That's a great question. And it's great to see this year that I can't just pick four players and go there, those four. It's great to be in a position to go, it's not an easy call. Need to see more of Sinisterra and see what he can do. Actually, we didn't really see enough during preseason to get a measure from. Looking at him in Holland, he looks like quite a talented player. If you look at him and Gakpo, who keep being linked with, their numbers are pretty similar to each other. So, there's definitely a top class player in there. I think when he's fully fit, he should be pushing being a starting 11, especially with what he costs. I think he's in the starting 11. I think you're probably looking at Bamford, Aronson. I think it's James and Sinisterra, I think. I know James gets a bit of stick for last season, but people forget that he was a right winger or a left winger, cuts in on the right, playing up front, not his natural position, And I like the look of what I saw James playing on the right in pre-season. The delivery for the Gallagher goal against Brisbane was a fantastic cross as well. And I liked him. He looked far more dangerous. He scored from that position as well. I think you've got rotational options there, and we talked before about it. Marsh likes to rotate his squad, so I think you could easily see Rodrigo swapping in for Bamford in games. I think you could see Sinisterra swapping out with Aronson or going out wide. Harrison can come into the 10 as well. I never said Harrison. Jesus, actually, I changed that. Harrison and Sinisterra. I don't think he dropped Jack Harrison. I thought he was excellent again at the weekend. He's looking way more effective this year. Like, the one thing that really stood out to me with Harrison, I know we didn't ask that question, but just real quickly, the thing that stood out to me with Harrison was last season he overran the ball a hell of a lot. He run himself into corners and get swamped to players and couldn't get out with it. He's delivering the ball far earlier. He's getting into positions way earlier to receive the ball. I thought he looked excellent. I still think there's a really good number 10 in him at some point, moving right into the center. I think he's got all the tricks, all the touches, and he's got to finish long term for him when the pace starts to go, maybe. But I think we've got great options in that front four, and it's really hard to pin down four. I think you start with Bamford, probably Sinisterra and Aronson, and then it's coin toss for whoever fits in the fourth position. What do you think?
Aronson and Bamford are, as long as they're fit and they're firing, I think you keep them. So then the question is, can Sinisterra replace Harrison? I agree with you. We haven't seen enough. We saw some highlight reels. He looks incredible. Bicycle kicks. He was doing some crazy stuff on his highlight reels, stuff that you see few players do. But that's a highlight reel, so you can take it with salt. And then Dan, you've got Dan James, and I'm sorry, I'm missing somebody.
Harrison.
Rodrigo.
Joffy as well.
And Joffy. So I think you go with Rodrigo. You go with the hot hand. That's probably what will happen based on fitness as well. So long term, I'd probably like to see. I like Dan James too. We're in the minority for liking Dan James. I don't think Again, it wasn't last season. Wasn't his fault. No. He should have been playing on the left wing under that Bielsa system. He's a player. When Man United /Scum got him, he was a player that played himself in.
Yeah.
And that's a rare quality to be able to play pass to yourself across the line. He still got that in him. His goal, I know it was against Brisbane, but to play it, I think he finished with his right foot on the right side. So I like Dan James as well. What is it about Dan James's game that you like outside of the speed and some of the stuff?
Well, the speed is the obvious thing, but I like his directness as well. If he gets one-on-one with you, you're dead. But the question mark has always been, you can run up and down in a straight line all day. What's your end product like? Can you cross the ball? Like we had that before with Harry Sacco, who could just tear past people like they weren't there, and they're like, please cross the ball, and he'd overrun it and fall over or something. But his end product has to be better this year. I think we saw it with Swansea when he was in the Championship. We were all drooling over getting him at that point. How direct he was. He's always played on the left to come in onto his right. He's never played as a guy who crosses the ball. It's always been come inside, shoot, or come inside and pass. And I think under Marsh, you'll see him more on the right-hand side, going down and putting balls in, and being much narrower as well, so more closer to goal and more direct. And I think you can't judge him until he's had a proper season in his natural position. And last year he didn't. He had all the stuff with United to deal with as well, and disappointment. And you've got to remember from a player's perspective as well. He went to Manchester United, was expecting to be a success there, and within less than a year he was shipped out completely. That's a failure in anyone's mind. You failed to do that. How do you pick yourself up? And then he came into a Leeds team that wasn't doing well, who hadn't won a game or won one match. And you're thinking, if you're a player, that's a lot. You've come out of a negative situation straight into another negative situation. And then a couple of weeks later, you're told, oh, by the way, you're going to play the rest of the year in an unnatural position that you've never played in before. That's a lot, and you've got to take that into consideration when looking at players' performance. And I think he still did enough for me last year to go, okay, when everyone's back and he's back in his normal position, there's a player there that will be effective and dangerous. And I think the way we break and the speed at which we break at now, I think he'll come into his own. I might be making a rod for my own back here, but I expect big things from Dan James this year. I think we'll see a much happier player and a much more successful and effective player this year.
Yeah, there's a reason why Manchester United scum brought him in, and we wanted him too.
Yeah.
And so in America, they say you can't teach speed. That's like the one thing in baseball. You can't teach it. You just are fast, and he is a fast player. And if we're able to unleash him on the defense, not as a striker, I mean, but he fits everything. He's a pressing machine, much like Aronson, much like Bamford. And if he's able to get amongst the goals, and I think he squares it up. I mean, that the Rafinha goal that tied at home against Scum, that was his ball in. So I just think I agree with you. I think there's a player in there. I like that he's got competition. The world's about competition.
Absolutely.
Premier League's about competition. And so I think that'll be good for him and hopefully bring the best out of him. He's pretty much a lock for the Welsh team too.
Yeah. I think you can sit on the bench for the rest of the year and still be a lock for the Welsh team. The pool player isn't that big for the Welsh team. There was something we spoke about last time, and we saw an action at the weekend. I think James will add to that. You just said about the press in there as well. The last goal that we got that is Aronson's or not Aronson's, or it's Aronson's goal. I don't care what the front camera shows. The camera from behind shows it clipping off his foot and going in. It's Aronson's goal. But we talked about Jesse Marsh's system will put bodies in the box and mistakes will happen. And we talked, we were saying to you that under Ferguson's last season, Man United's second highest top goal scorer was OGs. And it's about creating that panic in the box where mistakes will happen and getting bodies in there. And already the first game of the season, there's an OG straight away. There was an OG against Villa as well, so Crystal Palace. There's a pattern here. Like you can see we're just pushing people in, making the right runs into areas where they're going to cause problems. And you put someone with the pace of Dan James in, you could just square balls into an empty space. He could have a 15-yard behind you. He'll get there. He'll make those passes because of his pace. So I think there's another option there as well. I think when you look at how Aronson presses, you've said that, how Aronson, Harrison press, Bamford's pressing, and then you add James into that mix as well. Imagine being a defender, being given the ball, which we do it to just give you the ball and then run after you to get it back. That's panic. Like you see these four lads running at you at pace. There's pressure there. There's mistakes happen. There's penalties. There's free kicks. There's mistakes that lead to goals. The first goal is a mistake. The last goal is a mistake. They're both mistakes, and they're caused by that pressure. And I think James adds to that a huge amount.
Yeah, I love it. The relentless pressure is something that I would just love to see us put on teams this year, and hopefully not be too leaky at the back. I'm actually hoping for a clean sheet. We're getting comments here. I'm reading a few of them. I'm fairly new at this, so just bear with me, guys. But I love the comments. I love the engagement. A lot of people talking about DJ. We did a little bit on transfers earlier, so I don't want to touch too much more on that. Yes. But I wanted to, because Gio and I both got to get out of here, but I wanted to kind of preview. I wanted to preview Southampton.
Yeah.
What do you got? You're for those of you that don't know, Gio is he's coached youth. And so he understands tactics as well. Have you had a chance to look at Southampton's tactics in preseason and kind of do some scouting and they got obviously battered against Spurs, and I've said this is a big game for them. It's early doors, but their run of fixtures, fans are looking at this game going, "Oh no." Yeah. Leeds is very important. We need to get a win, not just a draw. A draw would be bad. A loss would be very, very bad, almost catastrophic early in the season. So just preview Wolves, their tactics, and what do you think they're going to come in with, and then we'll do predictions.
It's a good one because I think how Spurs pressed them at the weekend is close to what we'll do. There's a lot of similarities between Conte and style and Marsh's style in terms of the front four. There's a lot of problems in Southampton, apparently. I was doing some homework today, and according to the Daily Mail, he's lost apparently half the dressing room, are surprised that he wasn't sacked in the summer. They lost 10 of their final 13 games last season, and then they've lost already the first game of the season. And if you look at the OG that they conceded was a horrendous OG, and I can see those kind of balls going in from us all day against them. And whether they can deal with that or not, I don't know. They're missing some players. Livermorento's out of the game. Walcott's out of the game. I don't think Walcott's a loss for them, to be honest. I think his days are well and truly gone. And Tella is apparently a risk for the game. He would miss last week. He could be back. He might not be. So they're not at full strength. And I think tactically, there's supposed to be similarities between Hasenhüttl and Marsch. They both came through the Red Bull model. They're both supposed to be similar in that. But I don't think Hasenhüttl's been as effective. You've seen some games last year and the year before where they've got absolutely trashed by teams and gone on runs, these huge long runs of not winning games and then picking up a few wins. I think they're at their most vulnerable right now. It's their first home game of the season. There's a lot of pressure on when you look at the amount of games they lost at the back end of last season. And because of the manner in which they lost against Spurs, there's an expectation on their fans to bounce back this weekend. And that causes its own problems for a team. We saw that last year with our games in the first month of the season. We're like, well, we have to win the next game. We didn't win it. But we have to win the next game. And we didn't win it. And this mounting pressure gets to the players. I think, again, I said it last week, but if we score early, I think that the floodgates could open against them. I think there's goals to be scored against Southampton. I think we could get 2 or 3. I'm looking at the comments and there's Joe saying 3-0 or 3-1. I agree with that. I think we will concede. I always think we will concede. So I think 3-1's probably close to it. The key for us is going to be not doing stupid things around the edge of our own box, which unfortunately we have a tendency to do. Because if we do that, we're going to see what Ward-Prowse did again last year. They've got a special player who can put a ball in the top corner from anywhere. The key thing is going to be nothing silly there. My concern there is 2 players. Llorente, not the fastest in the world. And if we're getting caught on counterattacks, him recovering could do something silly. And Stroke, left back, being out of position as well and getting caught on again. But they're all, getting caught on counters. If we can avoid that, I think it could be a really, really strong day. I think we've got better options. You said at the start of this, they only used 2 players off their bench last weekend. We nearly emptied the bench. That's going to be a huge part. The temperatures that are predicted for the weekend are very high. Marsch spoke at his press conference as well about dealing with the heat in the MLS and how his tactics can play into that. I think that's going to be a key factor in this, as well as the energy levels. If we're stronger than them in the last 15, 20 minutes of the game, I think that's when it could be decided and we could either run away with it or completely lose it. But I am confident this year against Southampton that we have more than they have.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, obviously open play, you check that box to Leeds. You feel pretty good about it. It's first game, you don't, but your gut's saying that's the only area where you kind of get a little nervous is a dead ball.
Yeah.
With James Ward-Prowse's ability to shape it and just put it on somebody's head or put it in if it's outside the box. I mean, that's it. So, if they get 2 of those, maybe they got a chance. And then just time waste and slow the game up. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for a 2-0. That's where I'm at. I want to see a clean sheet. There's something about a clean sheet that just uplifts the defense and the whole team. And I like Patrick to score. I almost want to say, and Michael's, I said 2 goals. He's just getting in those right positions. He's getting in the positions and that's again what I love about Patrick Bamford. He's just that header. He should have gone down. That was in, and then he was one-on-one with the keeper, but he was making that run. There was a couple, maybe more times where it's like, Paddy he is on. He's on in terms of he's getting in the right positions. He's making the runs. He's putting the pressure on the center backs. So, yeah, I really think that Patrick Bamford is I think he's the X factor. I mean, you just see it, and so I fancy us to get 2-0. And go ahead.
He's got the best part of 90 minutes under his belt. I did think he looked a bit rusty, but of course he should. He hasn't played much. I think that's the area. Had that header gone a half an inch to the left or right of the goal, it's only because it's pretty much straight to the keeper. That's finite margins he's away from scoring, and I think if he scores, that'll settle him down for the season as well. And as you said, the biggest thing for a striker is making the right runs and being in a position to score, and he's doing that. That's the hardest part, is to be there. The easy bit just comes with frequency. The more you're in there, the more you're shooting, muscle memory kicks in and goals will come. But he's making the right runs, and he's a problem. He's a problem because he's hard to mark. He needs to just. I was listening to Square Ball during the week, and they made I think it was Michael Normanson made a really, really good point. We don't want to see the championship version of Pat Bamford. We don't want to see the ball bouncing back off him and going back to the opposition. We want to see him holding it up and getting it stuck to his feet. And I think that's just rustiness as well. I think we'll see that change. And I think you'll see he needs games. He just needs a couple of games to get that sharpness back. And but as you said, the runs are there, the positioning's there. He'll get goals.
One thing we didn't say too that we just feel better. You can just tell if this was last year, we would be wringing our hands big time about the dead balls because it was not emphasized under Bielsa, who I love and I'm appreciative of for bringing us up out of the championship. But I mean, the dead balls in the corners almost felt like free kicks at times. Bielsa, and now, and this also has to do, I think, with just how big we are in the back. I mean, Rasmus Christensen can head a ball. It's like I think he played. I mean, it seemed like a 20-yard header into Aronson at one point in the game. Like that is some force behind a header. So I just feel like we're in the air better defensively. So even if James Ward-Prowse does pick a head out, I almost feel like we're going to be there more than we would be under Marcelo. And so our defensive situations, I just feel calmer about. Like I don't feel like we're going to concede.
No, and I felt last year we concede every time. Every time there's a corner.
It's like, oh God, here we go. It was like this. God, yeah. So I just feel like in a better scenario, like we've got it covered. So anyways, I'm hopeful. We'll see. I don't think we're both bullish on the team this weekend.
There's a good question there. I'd love to get your take on this. Joe Depp has asked it. Love Stroke, thoughts on him at left back? What do you think?
Yeah, I think he put in a shift. I think he was, quite honestly, better than Rasmus. Obviously, I think his future's at center back. That's the one thing that's like. But I hope they don't fall in love with him there. But I thought he put in a shift. I don't remember him getting, gone around a lot, losing the players as much as Rasmus looked like he gave a lot of room to Neto.
Very narrow.
And it was like, dude, you're giving him a lot of room there. Either he's scared of this winger or he's giving him too much respect. So that was my only thought on Rasmus. But what did you think of Pascal?
I agree with you on Rasmus. If you're going to come in and everyone's going to christen you as the next warrior and replacement of Berardi, when you go shoulder to shoulder with a winger, you got to put him on his ass. You can't fall over and let him come in and score a goal. That can't. If you're going to be the big tough guy, be the big tough guy all the time. Don't get brushed off the ball as easily as you did. That was a problem. I think again, you're completely right. He was way too narrow for me. Way too narrow. He was tucked all the way in. And Neto's a good winger. And if you give a player like that space, and I can understand why, and you just said it, this guy's a good player. I'll just stand off him a little bit and I can try and read him a bit better. Reality is, if you give a player like Neto space, he'll take you apart. He's a quality player. So I think he needs to get a bit better in his position and defensively going forward. I thought he added a huge amount. Should have had a penalty, nailed on penalty. Just bonkers that's not a penalty.
He looks legit scary. Like if I was an opposite, I mean, he came into the game with like two black eyes. You know what I mean? His head shaved. He looks like legit, like holy crap. Like I would be scared of this guy. But
he's got a. I don't know. He got a third black eye now after getting the punch in the face. But he puts himself in positions where he gets hurt, and I like that about him. He's brave. But I thought he was okay. Left-hand side of the park, I thought Stroke did a really good job defensively, but I thought the goal that we conceded shows the problem, shows the issue. If you look at how slow we were to get back in at the back post, he should have already been there. And I think actually it was Llorente that was caught out of position, and Tyler Adams was the deeper of the players to Llorente. I don't know if that's caused by a slight unbalance there, but Harrison doesn't get a whole lot of support from Stroke going forward. I think Firpo will give that to him. If Firpo ever plays again, it appears that his leg is made out of cotton wool. I don't know what is going on with that guy. He just supposed to be back this week from injury. They're saying he's another 2 to 3 weeks before he's coming back. Just go and sign a left back. Just go and sign a left back now and be done with it. Because he's injury prone. If nothing else, I like Firpo. I think he'll get better. I do believe he'll get better, but he's got to get fit. He's got to be fit and stay fit. If he's not suspended, he's injured, and he hasn't got going this year. We need a better left back. I prefer Stroke as a centre back. I think going forward in the next couple of years, and go 5 years time from now, all going well, I think you're looking at Stroke and Creswell as your two centre halves, and I think that's a exciting prospect ahead. He does a good job defensively, and he gives us something from set pieces that we don't have when he's not on the team. So it's another tall player. And I think there's goals in Stroke from set pieces as well. He's got a very strong header on him. He's very aggressive. So there's a benefit to having him in the team. But then there's the problem about balance in terms of up and down the pitch and supporting Jack Harrison and, this recovery runs from the left-hand side. He's not fast. So if we do get caught on a counter-attack and he's gone forward, it leaves a hole for teams to play in against. And better teams will exploit that. But I thought he was okay.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. Yeah, sign a left back. Yep, I agree. But all right, I got a jet. A little bit of housekeeping. Subscribe to Jeer's YouTube channel, Leeds United the View. He does daily content. It's excellent. It's just the news in a condensed amount of time. So and it's high quality news. He curates it. It's not just hey, somebody at some bot on Twitter decided to say we were like, hey, I remember the rumors that was Messi to Leeds. Here's two guys from the same town in Argentina. Okay, it's like, okay, well, it's not happening. But anyway, so he gets rid of all that stuff and gives you the quality content that you need every day. I'm just starting out. We're doing a long-form podcast. Love to talk about Leeds. Going to talk about it a couple of days a week. And then hopefully to get all this stuff on, I listen to a lot of podcasts on YouTube. I pay for premium, but I understand a lot of people don't. And I'm going to put it out on Spotify so you can, go for a drive, go for a walk, etc. You get the earbuds in, get some Leeds podcasts going. Thanks so much. It was awesome to see everybody in the chat. Big shout out to Leeds United Ultras. We tried to do something. I had terrible Wi-Fi connection, but shout out to you guys. Subscribe to them, like them as well.
Good job.
And yeah, folks, man, hopefully we get this another win. And then I'm really excited as an American. I'm really excited for Chelsea at home. I think that's going to be bumped up to prime time here in America, like the lunch hour. And I don't know if Pulisic will start that game. Probably not right now. But obviously those are two big Americans. Adam's a big American as well. Is on the team and starts. But I'm rubbing my hands for Pulisic v. Aronson, which will kind of be how it might be framed in the United States. And if Leeds get a win or get a result there, gosh, if Aronson scores, I just think you're going to see – it's unfortunate about the jerseys. We'll go into that. But, like, you will see people getting Aronson – yeah. You will see people getting Aronson jerseys, as soon as they're available as well. So – and the brand, the fans, the subs, everything will be back up for. And I think this team needs it. The more revenue coming into this team, the more we can challenge that top six narrative, the more we can push for Europe, which would be incredible. Obviously, we haven't seen in 20 some odd years.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Talk to you guys. Yeah. Cheers, everyone. Have a great day and Leeds.